Good afternoon, children. Today we'll be starting with our topic post-fertilization events, and that will be ending the remaining portion of our chapter 1. So there are some 4 pages notes that you have to write and also understand, children. So let us begin. In your textbook, I'm starting from page number 21. That is, you can see over here, post-fertilization events. Now, last time, children, I had told you about the fertilization events and obviously about the sexual reproduction. Many terms we had done with the basic features in sexual reproduction, phases of life, then sexual reproduction in plants, unusual flowering, sexuality in animals, then difference between menstrual cycle and the oestrus cycle, then various technical terms to be used into sexual reproduction in organisms, that is plants, animals, and the lower animals also. Then further which we had moved with the events in sexual reproduction and divided it into 2 parts, the pre-fertilization, fertilization, and post-fertilization. This is what you're going to start today, right? And certain more terms we did, like spermatogenesis, oogenesis, embryogenesis, organogenesis, and I gave you a table to be learned by heart about the meiocytes. These are the only things that you need to learn in your syllabus, and the gamete number, right? I told you what was a meiocyte, the cell which was undergoing meiosis to give the haploid gametes, that is what we call as meiocyte. Then fertilization we did about the 2 types, external and internal fertilization, and their examples, and we had ended with the pollination topic over here. Today, as we start with our post-fertilization events, it is important that we first differentiate between 3 terms: zygote, zygospore, and a zoospore. See, zygote, children, is produced as a result of sexual reproduction by fusion of haploid gametes, that is a male gamete and a female gamete, resulting into a diploid cell, fertilized cell, what we call as zygote, right? So this is the product of sexual reproduction. But when you call it as zygospore, right? Zygospore means the same zygote when gets surrounded by a thick wall. So that is, the difference here would be here it is without a wall, and here it is with a wall. This is especially seen in many algae, fungi, and this, when zygote secretes a thick wall, it forms a perinating spore. That means this can be alive for unfavorable seasons also, drought or cold conditions, right? And this is called, that is the zygote with the thick wall, is called as zygospore. Then zoospore is a motile. That means you can see they have flagella, and they have flagellated spore which is formed as a result of asexual reproduction. This we did last time. You remember the 6 type of spores that I told you? So this is like the product of asexual reproduction, whereas this is a product of sexual reproduction, and this the same zygote with a resistant thick wall. Moving further, there's a new term, blastogenesis. This means the development of offspring from buds or fragments in asexual reproduction. That is a broken piece of a fragment or a bud. When it is going to develop into the entire new offspring, this entire change is called as blastogenesis. Then embryogenesis, that is formation of embryo. See, last time I told you what was embryogenesis. Here, the diploid zygote, when undergoes mitosis to form embryo, this change is called as embryogenesis. So today when we talk about embryogenesis in animals, based on whether development of zygote takes place inside or outside the body of the female, animals have been categorized into 2 groups: oviparous animals as well as viviparous animals. You have studied these 2 in your beginning of class 9, children. So maybe just to polish up those facts, oviparous are those animals which lay eggs, just from the word ova, which means egg. On the contrary, Viviparous animals are those which give birth to young ones, living young ones, we can say. Then, here in oviparous, the young one hatches out of the egg, whereas here it is delivered by the mother. Third difference, here the development of embryo takes place outside the body because naturally the egg is laid, whereas here the development of embryo takes place inside the female body. Then the embryo develops in oviparous animals, it develops inside the egg, whereas here it develops inside the uterus of the mother, that is a female. Now one more difference is there, that is eggs store food as yolk to nourish the embryo, whereas here mother nourishes the growing embryo through the placenta. Remember last time I told you the placenta, that is the one that nourishes the young one in the womb. Examples: oviparous, reptiles, birds, all egg-laying animals, etc. Whereas in viviparous, most of the mammals, including we the humans, metatherian and eutherian mammals. You remember metatheria and eutheria? Once again, if you have forgotten, metatheria, last time we discussed about those mammals which bear a pouch because they give birth to underdeveloped young ones. That is, kangaroo was a perfect example. And eutheria are those group of mammals which comprise of placenta, right? So all of them, they are the examples into viviparous. Then embryogenesis in plants. Remember children, in plants, after fertilization there are series of changes that you have studied again in class 9 children as post-fertilization events. What happens? The first thing, zygote becomes the embryo, that is the baby plant. Embryo means the baby plant which is inside the embryo sac. Sepals, petals, stamens, they wither and fall off. Ovules, they become the seeds. Ovary now becomes the fruit. Ovary wall becomes a fruit wall or pericarp. And after fertilization children, for example, look at this brinjal, right? So this, what is eaten as a vegetable, earlier must have been the ovary, right? And the seeds inside earlier must have been the ovules. But what you see here still persistent at the green structure, sometimes they fall off. You have written here, see, sepals, they fall off, but sometimes they're still seen attached to the fruit. Then, what is pericarp or fruit wall? It is the covering around the fruit, how it develops a thick protective wall, and that's what is called as pericarp. Then, we have our last topic in this chapter today as our new topic called parthenogenesis or virgin reproduction or virgin birth. Right? This is very interesting children. First, what does it mean? Please write down. Parthenogenesis means development of an egg or ovum into an offspring without fertilization. See, normally what we say that the two gametes, they get fertilized to form the zygote, which forms the embryo, and the embryo forms the organism. This is the usual course in sexual reproduction. But think of an egg or an ovum which did not get fertilized. Without fertilization or without meeting the male cell, the female egg cell directly changes into an offspring. This is called as a virgin birth or virgin reproduction or parthenogenesis, where it can be seen. It can be seen in certain organisms like rotifers, aphids, honeybees, crustaceans, and some vertebrates like these are lizards, snakes, certain birds, and some mammals. Today children, I'll also give you some homework to do. There are two tables of differences from page number 23 and page 21. Please see them, what you have to write. This is page number 21 in your textbook, and you have to write the difference table between zoospore and zygote. That is all the differences. Though I have explained you here between zoospore and zygote, but herein you'll have to write more between zoospore and zygote. Everything that is given, some 4 points, this will be your homework. Another table from page number 23, because we are going to complete this topic of sexual reproduction also today, this will be the elaborate number of differences between asexual and sexual reproduction. Please jot it down in your notes register, children, and you should be able to understand all these points. If you do not understand, kindly ask me. Then, coming further to the types of parthenogenesis. Parthenogenesis, children, is of two types: natural parthenogenesis as well as artificial parthenogenesis. Right? Natural occurs regularly in life cycle of some animals, whereas artificial, it is made to happen by the involvement of some artificial ways. We'll talk about this later. First, let us talk about the natural parthenogenesis. It is of two types, basically: complete or obligatory parthenogenesis and incomplete or cyclic parthenogenesis. What does this mean, children? In the first type of parthenogenesis, these individuals, the males are completely absent, whereas the females develop from unfertilized eggs. Look at this. In this whole category, complete means, obligate means, strictly parthenogenetic, and the males, they're totally absent, whereas the females, they develop from unfertilized eggs. Examples: aphids. Now I've given you the meaning of these terms, children. You're listening this maybe first time. Aphids, phylopods, rotifers, etc. Right? Aphid means small damaging bugs for plants. Phylopod means crustacean with leaf-like swimming appendage, whereas rotifer is a minute organic aquatic animal of the phylum Rotifera. So these are the examples of complete or obligatory parthenogenesis. There's also an interesting example, a lizard, which is called as Lacerta sexicola americana. So please write down, there are 4 examples under the complete or obligate parthenogenesis. Coming to just the opposite, incomplete or cyclic parthenogenesis. In this type, the sexual generation alternates with parthenogenetic generation. That is, just to say so, egg without fertilization develops into male, whereas the egg, if gets fertilized, after fertilization will be developing into female. So this is interesting. Unfertilized, see, compare with the previous. No males in the previous, whereas females were developed from unfertilized eggs. Here it's just the opposite. The unfertilized egg is going to develop into male, whereas the fertilized egg will develop into female. So that's the difference between complete and incomplete parthenogenesis. There's also a new type of parthenogenesis talked about under this head. We call it as pedogenetic, P-A-E-D-O, genetic parthenogenesis. This is seen in a gall fly. Now what is this and why it is called so? This is a native of North America and it is known to form characteristic galls in plants. So this fly especially is called a gall fly because of its characteristic nature to form the galls in plants. And what is unique about this? Look here. The larva of this fly lays eggs. You can see this is a larva laying up eggs. Now, after that is unfertilized eggs, will now form the new generation of larva. So this is called as pedogenetic parthenogenesis. Coming to the artificial kind of parthenogenesis. Let's see over here. In this, many sexually reproducing organisms or animals, the egg can be activated by artificial methods to start the development without fertilization. And this is called as artificial parthenogenesis. For example, look at this first. These are eggs of sea urchin, right? And when these eggs are treated with certain artificial choices of these numbers, let's see, weak salt solution of chlorides of potassium, sodium, calcium and magnesium, they develop into new individuals successfully. The other choices here, instead of treating with weak salt solution, we may treat with weak organic acids or give them electric shocks to the eggs or shake the eggs in seawater or prick the eggs with a glass needle. That is, any of these acts, obviously these are artificial methods, we will induce the formation of eggs of sea urchin into new individuals. So this is called as artificial parthenogenesis. Not only sea urchin, this is seen in a snake, that is eggs of those snake. We call it Typhlina brahmina. So this is a slender and very thin snake which will be again showing artificial parthenogenesis. Then some birds, turkey, hen, etc. and also some mammals like rabbit. So this is the complete summary of parthenogenesis. Finally, moving to our topic, advantages of parthenogenesis along with disadvantages. What are the advantages of parthenogenesis? First, avoids germplasm wastage. What is germplasm, children? Please write down. This means, the germplasm means genetic material of gametes or the germ cells. So germ cells or gametes, they are the same thing, and the genetic material is called the germplasm. So obviously when the gametes are not formed, so the germplasm would be not wasted, and this helps in the formation of large and this avoids the wastage in the form of large number of ovum and sperms. Thus adult life is devoted exclusively to feeding and reproduction. Second, advantageous gene combinations arising through mutations. Now what are mutations, children? See, everywhere the term I am encircling and writing the meaning. Sudden change in the gene structure, which are called mutations. So these mutations, they can be retained generation after generation, as there is no chance of separation by crossing over, and they should be the positive gene combinations. Third, offspring is similar to parent. Thus parthenogenesis eliminates or removes variety in population. Fourth, which is the last advantage, this method permits establishment of triploid and aneuploid chromosome. What does the term triploid mean? Please write down. Nucleus with three homologous set of chromosomes. Triploid means 3. So this nucleus means 3 homologous set of chromosomes, whereas the term aneuploid means an abnormal chromosome number. Now this abnormal could be a missing chromosome or an extra chromosome, right? So this method, that is parthenogenesis, permits establishment of triploid and aneuploid chromosome complement in the species. Disadvantages: it stops the chances of new combination of genes, and it results in lack of adaptability followed by extinction or return to sexuality. And last time, children, I had just slipped one topic, that was seasonal and continuous breeders, from page number 16. I'll just show you. So this is what I am summing up to complete the lesson. This is page number 16. Here we had seasonal and continuous breeders. Last time I forgot to give you the definition. Please write down. Parthenogenesis is over here with the disadvantages, but this is the term that I missed. Animals, they're categorized into 2 categories: seasonal breeders and continuous breeders. Seasonal means these are those animal species that successfully mate only during certain times of the year, that is during certain favorable times or seasons. Example, frogs, birds, lizards, etc. That is, they will not breed throughout the year, only at a fixed time or a favorable time of the year. Compare and just opposite this one, continuous breeders, these are those mammals which are reproductively active throughout their reproductive phase. Example, man, rabbit, cattle, mice, etc. So with that, children, here we are finishing with our complete syllabus of chapter 1, that is reproduction in organisms. I hope you have understood. Please complete the assignments on time, and also choose your project topics and let me know in person. I should be making sure that most of the children, they are taking up the topics which are more practical and of more use to the present scenario, and there should be preferably no duplication of the topics. So kindly inform me at the earliest. Thank you. Next time we'll start with our second chapter. Thank you.